Somewhere inside a quiet warehouse, something strange is slowly turning into something real right now. It doesn't look like much yet, just metal frames sitting on stands, waiting patiently for hands. But walk a little further down this line, and you start to see the shape emerge. 13 stations stand between raw metal and a finished vehicle rolling quietly out the door. 14 if you count the very last step, where the whole thing finally gets wrapped. Each station has its own strange nickname, and each nickname hides a small private joke. Nobody outside this building would guess what Stingray or Wobblegum or anglerfish actually means. That's the fun part, honestly, because every name was earned through months of exhausted late nights. Let's start where everything starts, right at the very beginning of this long mechanical story. The chassis and the body get built completely separately before they ever meet each other. Two different paths, moving at the same time, quietly heading toward the exact same destination. The first path begins with something workers simply call the surfboard, for obvious reasons. Look at it and you'll understand instantly why nobody bothered inventing a fancier name. It's low, flat, and wide, exactly like something you'd carry down to the beach. This is where the door latch assemblies get carefully bonded into place for the first time. Right here, the rear motor sub-assembly gets installed, along with the coolant lines feeding it. Motor goes in, chassis gets attached, coolant lines snake through, and the frame slowly takes shape. Then come the half shafts, because the top piece needs a bottom assembly built beneath it. Steering components, the motor itself, everything essential gets bolted and screwed firmly together at this stage. Once that's done, the surfboard is finally ready for suspension, for wheels, for brake lines. And the moment wheels get attached, the surfboard earns itself a brand new nickname entirely. Suddenly, it isn't a surfboard anymore. It's officially become what everyone calls the skateboard. Simple logic, really. Once something has wheels rolling underneath it, the name just changes naturally. From here, the skateboard heads overhead, gaining air conditioning lines and a battery heater sub-assembly. The ACC compressor gets tucked into the rear purely because there's simply no room up front. Space is tight everywhere on this vehicle, so every component fights for its own tiny corner. At this stage, something interesting happens. The whole thing starts resembling a hammerhead shark somehow. Wide at the front, narrow toward the middle, with strange proportions nobody quite expected beforehand. Eventually, the battery itself gets installed, and long cables start running from front to rear. That's when the whole assembly earns its next nickname, becoming what workers call the Stingray. Picture a stingray gliding through water, its tail trailing long and thin behind its body. That's exactly what these cables look like, stretching the entire length of the vehicle. A tunnel gets built specifically to house and protect this long stretch of electrical cabling. Meanwhile, something else entirely has been happening on a completely separate section of this line. While the surfboard was becoming a Stingray, another piece was quietly taking shape elsewhere nearby. This second track starts with what gets called the bank, where bracketing work begins first. Door latch assemblies get installed here too, mirroring work happening on the other track simultaneously. Next comes the pedal assembly, along with more bracketing hidden underneath for structural support. This bracketing matters more than it looks, because the rear tail eventually attaches right here. Metal brackets hold everything precisely in place, waiting for the next layer of components. After that, the harness begins its journey, and the air handler gets carefully installed too. More coolant lines appear here, along with a radiator sub-assembly nestled into position carefully. Everything gets built, so these two separate pieces can eventually mate together seamlessly later on. Then comes a station nicknamed Electric Eel, where the full wiring harness finally gets installed. Wiring harnesses are notoriously complicated, snaking through tight spaces most people never even notice exist. Figuring out exactly what connects where takes real patience, real precision, and plenty of troubleshooting. Every single wire has a purpose, a destination, and a job it absolutely cannot fail at. Get one connection wrong here, and problems can surface much later, deep into final assembly. That's why this station demands such careful attention from everyone working through it patiently. Once the harness is finally set, these two separate lines are ready to merge together. Station number 5 is where the real magic happens, where both tracks finally become one. The surfboard turned Stingray meets the bank turned harness carrier, and suddenly they're mated into a single unit. An air duct gets installed at the bottom here, part of the vehicle's cooling assembly system. By now, the radiators and their fans are already sitting quietly in place, waiting for connection. Workers simply hook everything up, completing a cooling system that keeps the whole vehicle balanced. Next comes a station nicknamed Anglerfish, and this one adds real personality to the vehicle. Glow panels get installed here, along with plenty of components handling the low-voltage system. The low-voltage power distribution unit goes in, alongside a 12-volt battery for support. Suddenly, the front of the vehicle starts looking like an actual vehicle for the first time. It's a genuinely satisfying moment, watching scattered parts finally resemble something whole and recognizable. Then the entire instrument panel goes in, installed all at once as a single sub-assembly. Solar components get integrated directly into this panel before it even reaches the vehicle itself. Everything slides in through the side, connectors already attached, ready for quick and easy installation. If service is ever needed later, this entire panel can be removed just as easily. That convenience was clearly intentional, built by people who understood how repairs actually happen. From here, things start getting covered up, piece by piece, section by section, slowly. The very rear gets covered first, hiding all that wiring and mechanical work underneath cleanly. Then attention shifts toward the front, and toward all the underside components needing protection too. At any given moment, several vehicles sit at different stages along this same production line. One might be furthest along, nearly finished, while another waits several stations behind it patiently. The furthest vehicle takes the longest time, because this stage involves something called bring-up testing. Bring-up is where the wire harness gets checked thoroughly, along with every other critical system. Any issues get caught here, whether they're brand new problems or things that broke over time. Even things checked earlier sometimes fail later, so nothing gets assumed safe without proper verification. This makes bring-up one of the single most important stations along the entire assembly line. Nothing moves forward until everything checks out completely, because shortcuts here cause bigger problems later. Once bring-up finishes successfully, the vehicle gets covered up using a belly pan and nose cone. These exterior pieces protect everything underneath while giving the vehicle its recognizable, finished exterior shape. Now here's something worth pausing on. Something that reveals just how personal this whole process feels. Every early prototype built on this line eventually earned itself its own unique nickname too. There was one nicknamed after Mercury, a 5-mile-per-hour test vehicle built early on. That prototype eventually evolved, and its nickname changed too, becoming known as Hermes instead. Later came a prototype nicknamed Apollo, built specifically for a major public event and reveal. After that event concluded, Apollo transformed again, becoming what everyone started calling Artemis instead. Then came Gemini, representing the actual production weight vehicle currently undergoing real-world testing. Gemini has already been driven on test tracks, gathering data engineers need before wider production begins. It'll likely return to that same track again soon, continuing the testing process further still. Interestingly, these prototypes didn't always arrive in perfectly logical order. Sometimes priorities shifted things around. Certain vehicles got pushed ahead of others whenever major public events demanded urgent attention instead. That's simply how real engineering timelines work: messy, shifting, and constantly responding to outside pressure. Back on the main line, the next station carries a nickname sounding almost like dessert. Workers call it the donut, and this station handles some genuinely important safety-related work. Seatbelt assemblies get installed here, along with headlamps that give the vehicle its distinctive expression. Workers even refer to this particular feature as the vehicle's smile, once it's fully installed. Shortly after comes what's called the glazing of the donut, a strangely poetic-sounding name. This is where the remaining solar components get installed, alongside the windows themselves finally too. Everything gets bonded together carefully, creating a sealed, weatherproof, structurally sound exterior for the vehicle. Notably, up until this exact station, the vehicle has no windshield installed whatsoever yet. That single missing piece finally arrives here, transforming the vehicle's appearance almost instantly and dramatically. Behind the scenes, engineers constantly balance workload across every station along this entire production line. Nobody wants workers standing idle while others struggle under too much work at their station. Achieving that balance apparently requires ongoing meetings, constant adjustments, and careful attention to timing throughout. It sounds simple in theory, but keeping 14 stations perfectly balanced is genuinely difficult work. Next along the line comes a station with perhaps the strangest nickname of them all. Workers call it Wobblegum, and nobody seems entirely certain where that particular name originated from. It might reference something playful, something whimsical, born from exhaustion after working impossibly long hours. Picture working 20-plus hours daily for months, staring at something slowly resembling a donut. At some point, exhausted creativity produces names like Wobblegum, and somehow it just sticks permanently. This station handles the cowl and the mirrors, alongside sound-deadening foam installed throughout the cabin. Footwells receive their carpeting here too, giving the interior its first genuinely finished, comfortable feeling. Seeing raw metal transform into something with actual carpet underfoot feels surprisingly emotional, honestly speaking. From bare frame to something resembling a living space, that transformation happens gradually across every station. There are still several stations remaining before this vehicle can be considered truly complete. Next comes a station nicknamed after an old video game console, adding yet another layer of personality. Here the center console gets installed, along with interior and exterior door liners fitted precisely. A rear-view display gets carefully installed too, replacing what would traditionally be a mirror. Sun visors go in around this same stage, small details that matter enormously for everyday comfort. These finishing touches might seem minor, but they're what make a vehicle feel genuinely livable. Anyone can build a functioning machine, but comfort and thoughtful detail require something more deliberate entirely. Finally comes the very last station, reached only by climbing a short staircase nearby. This station covers up remaining exposed sections, adding wheel pants, seats, and the front solar hood. Once these final pieces attach, the vehicle is essentially considered complete and ready for wrapping. Interestingly, the wheel pants aren't fully finished yet, at least not in every functional sense. They're designed eventually to swivel, turning alongside the wheels themselves for improved aerodynamic efficiency. Right now, though, that swiveling mechanism isn't active yet, at least not on current units. Building that swiveling function requires expensive tooling, something still being developed and refined further. It's a reminder that even finished-looking vehicles often hide unfinished features still being perfected. Progress rarely arrives all at once. It arrives gradually, station by station, detail by detail. After this final station, one small step remains before the vehicle is truly finished completely. That 14th step involves wrapping the vehicle, though it technically happens outside the numbered stations. 14 steps total then, transforming raw metal frames into a fully realized finished vehicle eventually. Every nickname along this line, strange as some sound, tells its own small hidden story. Surfboard becomes skateboard, skateboard becomes Stingray, and somewhere else, bank becomes electric eel entirely. These separate pieces eventually merge, become anglerfish, then donut, then wobblegum, then finally complete. Behind every strange nickname sits a team who spent months perfecting each individual station carefully. Someone designed this entire line's layout, balancing workflow, spacing, and timing across every single station. That kind of planning rarely gets noticed by outsiders, yet it determines everything about production efficiency. Get the line design wrong, and bottlenecks appear everywhere, slowing everything down unnecessarily and expensively. Get it right, and vehicles flow smoothly from raw metal to finished product almost effortlessly. It's easy to overlook how much invisible planning sits behind something as simple as walking a line. Every bracket, every wire, every panel represents decisions made by people solving problems nobody else sees. Somewhere in this building, someone remembers exactly why they named a station after a Stingray. Somewhere else, someone remembers late nights that produced names like Wobblegum out of pure exhaustion. These small human moments live inside every vehicle that eventually rolls off this production line. Machines don't build themselves, despite how automated modern manufacturing might sometimes appear from a distance. Real people, working real hours, solving real problems, shape every single station along this line. That's ultimately what makes a factory tour like this genuinely interesting, beyond just mechanical curiosity. It's not simply about watching metal become a vehicle, it's about watching people solve problems. Every nickname, every station, every small joke reflects countless hours of dedicated, occasionally exhausting work. The vehicle that eventually leaves this building carries all of that invisible effort along with it. 14 stations, dozens of components, and months of refinement all condensed into one finished product. Next time you see a finished vehicle, remember it likely passed through something like a Stingray. It probably became a skateboard before it became anything resembling a real, drivable machine. It probably earned itself a strange nickname somewhere along its own particular assembly journey too. That's the hidden story sitting quietly behind every finished product rolling out of any factory. Somewhere behind the scenes, exhausted engineers named something after dessert. And somehow it made sense. That's not a flaw in the process. That's simply what real human engineering actually looks like. Perfectly polished processes rarely tell interesting stories, but messy human ones almost always do. This assembly line, with its skateboards and Stingrays and Wobblegums, tells exactly that kind of story. It's imperfect, occasionally chaotic, constantly being adjusted, and completely, unmistakably human from start to finish. And maybe that's the real takeaway hiding inside this entire walk down the production line. Behind every finished vehicle sits a messy, human, occasionally hilarious process nobody outside ever really sees. 14 stations, countless nicknames, and months of dedicated work, all leading toward one finished vehicle. That's the quiet, surprisingly human story hiding behind every single station along this entire line.